everyone, and welcome to another episode of Moving Picture Massacre. Today, we are celebrating, for some reason, episode 9. And when I say celebration, I just mean we actually got together again at a reasonable time. So, for this new movie that we're going to talk about today, I'm going to let Matt talk about it. No, he's not over there for me, he's over there. And tell us about what we were watching.
All right. So this was one of my picks, and I found this at a thrift store. So it was cheap, and you can tell why the movie is so cheap if you watch it. But anyways, it is from 1999, and it is called Bats. And this movie stars Lou Diamond Phillips. Is it Dinah Mayer? And then you get Bob Gutton and the dude from Cool Runnings, who is listed as Leon. No last name, just Leon. And this was a fun movie for me to watch. I do enjoy creature features. I enjoyed Arachnophobia, Lake Placid, movies like that. So Bats is kind of right up my alley. And this one really didn't disappoint. And I'll go a little bit further into detail with this as we go on. But I just want to start by, showing the cover here. There's a lot of inverted stuff going on here. So you got the title inverted on here. If you take it out, the label is also inverted on this tape too. And then it kind of had a weird intro and an outro to this movie. I thought they had filmed it in widescreen. It was kind of odd on my TV. It split down. At the beginning, I was like, man, I got a widescreen VHS, and I didn't know how to react to that. But everything, after a little bit, it blew up to full picture and things were good again. But anyways, I will let these guys take it from here and just get some opening opinions on this movie. So, Tom, what'd you think?
Well, to quickly just kind of go over the movie, it's about bats. It's bats come to a town and start ripping up these people in Texas, and you don't know why. You find out why as you go through the movie, that they're these weird, juiced up steroid bats, and they're eating people along with livestock and all that other stuff. So you get a bat specialist and Lou Diamond Phillips as a sheriff in Texas taking care of the bat problem, right? It was fun. I liked the movie. Again, it's a creature features type of movie. The things that were kind of lame to me, just right off the bat, was sorry. I'm making myself laugh at how stupid that is. Back in the day, and even now, if you don't pay for good CGI, like, you just don't have it. And back in the day, it just didn't really exist. And so when you have massive amounts of things flying towards you, it's not gonna always look that good. Look at the birds. This was just an angrier version of birds. It was like not flightless birds, but like hairless birds, and they were bats. Because these bats didn't have any hair. A lot of bats are kind of fuzzy in the chest back area. These were they look kind of like more like gremlins, or like those guys on the top of buildings, gargoyles, almost. I liked them when they were up close. They looked cool. They're cheesy but neat, and they come and they've got these big little mouths and stuff. But anyways, I enjoyed the movie as a whole. Ricky, what do you think about it?
Didn't like it. I mean, mostly the parts that stood out to me as far as moments that I did like were comedic moments. As far as the movie as a whole, granted, the creature effects were pretty cool. You had Greg Nicotero doing all the makeup and puppeteering, and he's one of the 5 legends of the makeup genre for sure. But yeah, he did a good job. But the story was kind of boring. The one thing that bothered me the most was anytime there was like an attack scene where the bats would like jump on someone, they did that shaky camera strobe light thing, and it drove me insane. I hate when they do that. Like, save that for found footage. Don't, like, I hated it. But other than that, it was a fun watch just for the comedic value of it. But all in all, I didn't really care for it too much. Matt, how you want to dive into this? I'm gonna let you go ahead and start it.
I'll start by just like the positives to this movie, and you named quite a few. First off, I didn't realize Greg Nicotero did any of the puppeteering and effects for this, and that makes sense because it was done really well. Like Tom said, there was bad CGI in it, but when you got up close with the puppets, the bats, I thought it was well done. I'm a fan of practical effects. I also like that this movie was only an hour and a half long. After a while, I just think that movies drag on and that's unnecessary. And this was kind of at the sweet spot, and the 90s did that really, really well. Where you get an hour and a half long movie, they get their story told and they wouldn't tell you more than you needed to know or less than you needed to know. And that's perfect to me. I thought they got a decent cast of people in this. Like we talked about some of the people in it. For being as bad as the movie is, I'm surprised that some of these people signed on to do this movie, and I appreciate that they did do that. Um, and I'm not going to really go a whole lot into the negatives because I think we can really tear this movie apart here in a little bit. But yeah, I think overall, I really like the effects in this movie, like the up close practical effects. I know Tom talked about the what the bats look like. To me, I thought they looked like little terror dogs from Ghostbusters. They look like little flying terror dogs, and that was great to me. But yeah, other than that, Tom, what'd you think?
Like I said, just overall, it was an enjoyable movie to say, to break it down into something smaller. I didn't hate that I watched it. That's for sure. Like you said, there was some cool stuff for sure. There was some good comedy relief moments in there. When the guy from the CDC shows up and he's like, I'm from the CDC, and you get a response of the God, what was the guy's name? The actual character's name. The assistant, do you remember his name? Really bad. From Cool Runnings.
Oh, Jimmy.
Jimmy, thank you. He goes, I never touched that girl. When the CDC guy's like, I'm from the CDC. He's like, I never touched that girl. I was like, that has nothing to do with anything, but it was funny. He definitely brought in the comedic value of things. What else did I like? Oh, one thing that I noticed that I thought was a cool little nod was when the town was being overrun by bats, there was a movie theater and Nosferatu was showing in the movie theater. It was on the marquee, and I thought that was a cool little thing. What else? What else? I do have more things that I wrote down that I didn't like.
Yeah, there was quite a bit that I didn't necessarily like either.
Yeah, I found out that the movie had CGI bats, puppet bats, some animatronic bats, and 2 live bats. For some reason, there was only 2 actual live bats, and I think in the very beginning when you see her hold a bat, when she's in the cave, I think that's one of them. I don't know if maybe the other one happened at the same time, and it's just shown as one bat. They have like a stand-in actor bat, whatever. But yeah, there was 2 actual bats in the movie. What did I put? Oh, one thing that I thought was funny was when Sheila is getting attacked by the bats in the middle of the town when the first big attack shows up. She's getting attacked. She's like swarmed by a few of them, and the CDC guy runs out, and they all stop attacking her and go to him and kill him instantly, even though she was being attacked for like 2.5 minutes and just has some scratches on her. So I'm like, she's definitely a main character because she's totally fine getting attacked by these bats. And this guy got attacked by the same amount and died in like 5 seconds. So I thought that was entertaining. But if I was to go into some bad things, I'm not going to dwell on it a lot. But the one thing that you mentioned, Ricky, that definitely bothered the absolute hell out of me was the camera shots at times. They had some slow motion camera shots that were unnecessary. It was this weird skewed kind of thing. It looks like they smushed the film or something, and everything was kind of bent to the side a little. And at first I thought, I was like, oh, maybe it's the view of the bat. Like we're getting what the bat sees as it comes in or something. But then it happened when there was no bats on screen whatsoever. So I was like, that threw that theory out the window. It's just bad, bad filming. I just did not like that at all. Ricky, I'll let you go ahead because I know you're going to rip into it more than any of us.
Oh, man. I noticed the part you were just talking about with the whole camera skewing. The first time I actually really noticed it was when the deputy sheriff busts through the glass door of like I'm guessing it was like a bar or a pool hall or whatever. But when he's like shooting at the bats, I really noticed it in that scene. I was like, okay, that was pretty stupid. And he's like talking to the bats as if they're like whoever he was like chasing. He's like, stand back, calm down. It's like, dude, they're fucking bats. They don't give a shit what you're saying. But one thing I thought was kind of funny was the ADD factor that they gave the bats, because like you said just a second ago, they just stop attacking her and go straight for that CDC guy. But the first time I noticed it was when they're swarmed all over the sheriff's Jeep, and then the Jimmy and the other sheriff pull up in the cop car, and they all just kind of stop what they're doing and just look, and then they just take off. It's like, no, fuck this, we're going to get them now. But they kind of had like an ADD factor where they see something new and they're like, hey, what's that? Let's go get that. I do want to throw one thing out there that I did like, because there's not going to be many of those, because I did write this down. But when at the end, when they're trying to turn on the little refrigeration machine thing, and Lou Diamond Phillips' character is getting attacked by the bat, and he pulls out the flare and just busts it right in the bat's face. I was like, okay, that was sweet. That was pretty awesome. But yeah, Jimmy was definitely the highlight of the movie for me. Like, he had a lot of one-liners that were fucking great. The first one that really stood out to me was it was after they had started investigating the town and everything, and he's like, I've been doing some thinking, and fuck this, I'm going to Antarctica. That was a good one. But yeah, other than that, there wasn't really much for me to say that I liked. I mean, I do like the fact that they had the warden from Shawshank in the movie, because Shawshank is one of my 2 favorite movies ever made, and I don't think anything will knock those 2 movies off the pedestal. That and Seven. But we're not talking about that in Seven. We're talking about this movie. So Matt, go ahead with what you want to talk about.
Oh shoot. Okay. I'll go ahead and I'll just start with things that I didn't necessarily like. Because I think we can run with this for a little while. First off, I'm in agreement with you guys. The shaky camera angles got on my nerves so bad. The first, 1 or 2 times they did it, fine. But every time that it happened throughout the movie, it was just getting old real quick. And like you mentioned, the flare, I thought it was Sheila who lit the flare. I'm still not 100% sure which person it was, because that whole like fight scene with that bat in that cave, I don't know who was who, because it was just a blob of people just rolling around in this big shaky camera. And it was just really easy to lose concentration in the movie when you were watching it. Another thing, I don't get what the deal is with helicopters pulling into scenes, getting out, knowing your name, and people are automatically like, "Yeah, I'll get on," and it always ends poorly. You've seen it with Jurassic Park. The doctor lands, he's like, "Lord, Doctor Grant," and they go to Jurassic Park, and the shit hits the fan. And this was the same thing that happened with this movie. A guy she doesn't know shows up and is like, "You're important. You're the best. We need you," and then people just start dying all around her. So I wish there was a different way they could like introduce stuff like this in these movies. Another thing I didn't necessarily like was right at the beginning with the car, the first like kill scene, that bat like kamikaze that window, but that was the only one it could do, was that car window for some reason. They couldn't hit the cop car, fly through it. They couldn't do the Bronco. So I was like, well, I mean, shouldn't they just tear through this a lot easier? But it was kind of cool seeing them pop through different vents and stuff like that. That was interesting to see how that all worked out. One part of the story I didn't necessarily like was the town scene when right before it all happens, she's like, "Oh, they're using sonar. They're on their way." I don't understand why this person who is a professional in studying bats at that moment in time, like when she can hear that and she knows that that's a signal to like bring the whole army, why she can't just recreate that and just trap them, because I mean they're bats. If I just assume that if she knows exactly what it sounds like radar detection or whatever, they could recreate that, send these somewhere, and it'd be like critters and like blow them up in the meat factory. And I just kind of was like, okay, that's what I would have done, but then we wouldn't have been able to extend the movie so far. And then I d- there was quite a bit of stuff, but I'll go ahead and I'll let Ricky start because I know he's got a long list of things too.
I tried not to take a long list on this one because I always kind of tend to steal the show on things that I hate. But I guess one that really, really stood out to me that I did write down because it bothered the shit out of me was in the diner. The kid that's playing the arcade game, and then the guy sitting at the bar having his meal, he gets attacked by this bat, and he's literally laying on the bar top, fighting with this bat, kicking glasses over, just knocking everything out the way, screaming, battling with this bat. And this kid does not miss a beat. He is zoned in on that game. It's like, dude, get the fuck out of here. You heard all that shit. Get off the damn game and get out of the damn building. That bothered the shit out of me because I don't care how zoned out I am. If I hear some glasses start smashing and somebody starts screaming, I'm gonna be like, "What the fuck is that?" But yeah, that one bothered me a lot because no kid's gonna be that zoned out unless he's deaf, which is possible. They did never go into detail who that kid is. But let's see. I'm trying to think of something else that I really hated because I tried not to take too many notes and shit on this movie too bad. I don't know. Let me think on it. Tom, go ahead with some stuff on yours while I think.
I honestly don't think I have anything else. I was trying to think, and like, the ending was okay. It was nothing spectacular. I didn't hate it. I didn't, it wasn't amazing. Um, like I said, the CGI wasn't great, but I didn't expect it to be, So overall, there was definitely some dumb things, and you've heard them all so far, I would say. And so, like, I don't think there was anything else that stood out for me that really bothered me with it. It was definitely I don't want to call it a middle of the road movie because I think we all just did that the last episode we shot. But it was okay. I was not mad that I watched it, and I feel like it gave me a real Tremors vibe at first because it was out in Texas. It was the same style of hunting monsters or getting away from monsters, and so it definitely had that feeling to it. And I know that there was a sequel that came out in, I think, 2006, and then they just remade the movie last year. I think it was 2021. I haven't watched the remake, let alone the sequel, and I don't know if I will. I know one thing that I read was the actor from Shawshank that was in this movie was actually hired on for like a 6-year contract or something like that, in case there was a sequel. And somehow he would come back, even though we watched him die. So I don't know how that would work. But then they made the sequel 2 years after his contract was up. So I don't know if they were waiting to not pay him to be in it again, or why the reasoning was that they did a sequel directly after his contract was up. But they did, apparently. So if you want to search that out, feel free. But Matt, if you have anything else that you want to say about that, feel free.
Shoot. I did I did get a kick out of the scientist, the doctor, when he's like, I control them. And he does the whole arm thing, and then they just like maul him and eat him, or what you think happens. They maul him and eat him. It just that kind of made me laugh a little bit. Like I was picturing them for some reason actually listening to him at first. And like you saw like Batman Begins when he's in the cave and they're all like circling around him. It's just in my mind, I'm like, this is gonna happen right now. And this is gonna be awesome. And it didn't, and it's kind of what you should expect to happens. And either way, I wasn't like real disappointed with that. I think too, and this is kind of a spoiler, when they're like, oh yeah, we accidentally let these bats out, but we're not allowed to tell you why. I think everyone honestly probably watches this and is like, oh, this is a government experiment that's meant to be a weapon, and it turns out that it is. um, So, I mean, there was a lot of predictable stuff in this movie, I thought. And even at the end, like when you see the bat pop out and you're like, oh, he popped out. And you're like, he's going to get ran over. And the Bronco just smashes him. So that was another kind of like issue I had, which I think all 90s movies, I think, are kind of predictable to an extent, though. Like you can watch it and be like, oh, this is going to happen right now. And they follow that same formula every time they make a movie until, now people understand like that formula and they're like, well, people expect this, so I can change it. And they just didn't do that back then. But yeah, I don't, there's always, it seems like I have a huge list of things I hate about these movies, but I genuinely, honestly like most of them. And I'm like you said, I'm saying middle of the road with this movie. Um, would I watch it by myself again? No. Would I watch it if everyone was coming over and someone was like, "Bats, that sounds awesome"? I'd be like, "Hell yeah, it is," and let's put it in. And it would be probably a brand new movie at that point to me. So, yeah, I don't really have a whole lot other to say about it. Ricky, you got anything to add?
I will say, I know we've been kind of giving the CGI a hard time, but I will say there's one movie that I hate the CGI in way more than I hated this one, and that's Spawn. The 1996 Spawn CGI was the worst CGI I've ever seen in my life. It's so bad. But yeah, I know in our previous episode we skipped right over our little star rating that we've been doing. So we're going to get back to doing that right now. Tom, I'm going to let you start and give us a star rating on this one.
Fair enough. Yeah, I apologize to everyone that may have watched the last episode that we did, episode 8, because we didn't do a rating. And I think that was completely just the fact that we hadn't done a show in a month and totally forgot about it. So we are going to do that again. Okay, if I was to give this movie, we're going out of 5, right? That's what it's always been. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure. I would give this movie, I'm trying to think of, the way that I do it a lot of the time is I go back to the last one we did and think what I gave that, and then how I compare this to that one. You know what I mean? And I honestly think I liked this movie more than Invaders from Mars for a couple different random reasons. But I'm gonna not enough to really change what I would rate it. And so I'm gonna give it the same rating that I would have given Invaders from Mars, and that would be 3 stars for me. What about you, Matt? I'll leave you for last, Ricky, because you're gonna be mean.
I'm the exact same. Like you mentioned middle of the road, and that's kind of what I thought. And the middle of the road movie to me deserves a 3. So that's what I'm going to go with. I wasn't blown away by this movie by any means, but like you said, it wasn't a movie that I like entirely hated or just something I despise and will never watch again. So yeah, it's just a right in the middle, a 3. Ricky?
All right. Well, you guys knew I was going to shit on it. So, but I cannot give it a 3 because I gave The Dentist a 3.5. And I actually really enjoyed The Dentist. I did not really enjoy this movie, but I'm not going to be as mean as I was with Psychomania because I know for a fact Psychomania got a Uno. So I'm going to give this one, let's say, I'm going to give it a 2 because it's right around the area where I have like A Stranger Is Watching, which is one of those that I'm not upset that I watched it, but it's not something that I'm going to see in my collection and be like, oh, that's something I want to watch. No, it's just a one-time view. Cool, I've seen it. That's the end of it. So I'm gonna go with 2. We'll give it a 2. Final answer.
Final answer. Fair enough. Okay, cool. Well, we've got 3, 3, and a 2, so that's not the worst thing we've ever done. That's for damn sure. And one thing we did last episode that we can do this episode again is pick our next movie right for you guys. You guys get to watch us do it. You get to watch my phone spin a little thing around. So I'm going to do it from kind of far away so you can see it spin, and then I'm going to cover up all the other choices so you don't see the movies we're projecting to watch later. But anyways, do this. See if I can see the button. There it goes. And we're going to get Orca. Sweet. So, Orca is a movie about a killer whale. And I bought that from someone off of Instagram, maybe, I don't know, a month and a half ago. And it's just been sitting on my shelf waiting for me to watch it. And I haven't watched it yet, so I'm excited to watch it. I've seen it on all kinds of shelves and stuff like that. People buy it all the time. I know nothing about it. It could be absolute garbage, and people just buy it because it's a movie about a killer whale, so it looks cool. Like, the cover is super sweet. But who knows? It may be a masterpiece for all we know. So if either of you have anything else to add.
I'm waiting for the day when we have the perfect score.
Oof.
Whether it be like all zeros or all fives.
That's fair.
I would take either one of them, because
Can we give it a zero?
I don't think. Do we give it a zero? I mean, we could. I guess if we absolutely despise a movie, I don't see why not.
I guess that's true.
But yeah,
I'm par with House of the Devil. I will give it a zero for sure.
I'm gonna just seek out the worst movie I think I can find.
House of the Devil. That's it.
I have a stack of movies over here, and I was looking, and I was like, "Is it any of these? Are one of these the worst movie ever?" And they're not quite.
The potential zero.
Yeah. Who knows? It may honestly. I'm not going to drop things. It may be this. It came from beneath the sea, but just from the name and the photo already makes me want to give it at least a 2.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I'm a sucker for old movies like that, and I think for sure I'll be like, yeah, I like that a little bit.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, Tom, we're thinking of a movie that we might give a big fat goose egg to. I'm not gonna say the name of it because we're gonna do that episode at some point, but I'm pretty sure you have 3 copies of a movie that's gonna get
That's true. I'm thoroughly excited about that, and I need to ship those copies to you guys. I finally found the 2 because they went missing somehow, and I apparently packed them with a bunch of my other movies and never looked in there again. But we will do an episode on that movie. The movie seems to be so bad that it has 2 different names, which a lot of movies do have 2 different names, but this movie has 2 different names and not a trailer to be seen. YouTube isn't like, no, fuck your trailer, doesn't exist. We know absolutely nothing besides the fact that this movie has 2 names, and so I'm thoroughly excited to watch it eventually.
So, yeah,
but I'm sure it's bad.
It's a miracle that it's actually made it to VHS.
That's how you can find sealed copies for 25 cents at a bookstore. It's good.
The guy warned you.
Yeah.
25 cents. Oof.
Oof. Not that one.
Are you sure?
But anyways, thank you all so much for watching episode 9 of Moving Picture Massacre. Do yourself a favor, like I say every single week. Go out and watch Bats. There are multiple ways to watch it streaming-wise for free and to rent. It's probably $1 VHS movie at your local thrift store as well. So go ahead, pick it up, watch it, have your own take on it. Comment on this video. Let us know what you thought about it, because I'd love to hear that. I'd love to let you know that you're either completely wrong because you loved this movie or you hate it as much as Ricky. I would love to know. I really would. So thank you for watching. If it's your first time here, we appreciate you a ton. Like and subscribe to the video, to the channel, all that stuff. And if you've watched all of our videos coming this far, we appreciate you so much more. So we will see you guys for episode 10, where we talk about Orca, and we'll see you next time.